As we've been talking about, a lot of things have changed in the past year. We just highlighted those unemployment claims for last week of 712,000. Of course, a lot of companies are hiring, even if they have changed the way that they do so and what they're hiring for. Indeed is one of the places that helps them do that. That is a jobs and hiring website. And Chris Hyams, the Indeed CEO, is joining us now. Chris, thank you for being here. So as you look back on the past year and sort of the patterns and the shifts that you have seen, well, I guess we'll talk about your working life in just a moment, but on the site itself and what you have seen, what have been some of the biggest notable changes that you guys have been through and that you have seen people posting on your site go through?
Yeah, it's clearly been an extraordinary year, especially as your last conversation just covered. Our mission at Indeed is to help people get jobs, and getting a job is hard on a good day, but especially now when health and homes are on the line. That mission for us has been more vital than ever. There's been a huge amount of changes over the last year, but the biggest thing we saw really hit pretty much right away. In April, we saw the number of requests for interviews to happen over video shoot up by over 1,000%. And even as things have started to stabilize and the economy has opened up over the last 11 months, we've seen that continue to grow. We launched a video interview feature early on last year. We believe this is the beginning of a massive secular shift and will change how hiring is done really forever. It's almost as big a change as when we were first able to put in a credit card and buy something over the internet and have it delivered to us instead of driving to a store to pick it up. We now see that people being able to conduct an interview from the safety and convenience of their own home is really going to change hiring forever.
Chris, Goldman Sachs out this week forecasting a jobs boom this year. Do you agree with that?
So what we've seen so far on Indeed, and it's interesting, obviously we have, we saw the jobless numbers this morning. We have more than 10 million Americans unemployed right now, which is more than at the highest point of the Great Recession. But on Indeed, when we look at new job postings and our benchmark pre-pandemic of February 1st of 2020, we are right now in the end of this February, we were up 5% year over year. So we're seeing more jobs posted right now than there were before the pandemic. There's 5 million jobs in the US right now, and that's still with entire sectors completely shut down. It's very hard to say how quickly this will happen. The vaccines are starting to roll out, and great news for grandparents who can go and visit their grandkids. But most of the people vaccinated so far are older, who are not really part of the labor force, or frontline workers who are already at work. So we have yet to see the real boom that will come as we reach a tipping point with vaccines. We certainly expect to see a lot of hiring over the coming year.
And, Chris, you mentioned the comfort that people had doing, or the requests that people had for doing those interviews over Zoom that started about 11 months ago. I'm curious, in your data, if you've picked up how much of a desire companies have to have a distributed workforce or a hybrid workforce, or the way that those job listings are maybe catering to preferences. I think some of us are starting to develop of, the office would be nice, but it would be nice, maybe 3 days a week instead of 5.
Yeah, so clearly we all as employers have a lot to figure out about what the world will look like. We've been surveying our employees. We've been reading all of the reports that have come out from other companies. It is very clear right now that of the people who can work remotely, a majority of them do not have an interest in coming back to the office 5 days a week. The changes we've made at our business are like some others. About 70% of our employees will have the option to work fully remote when we come back to the office. About 30% will want them in the office 2 or 3 days a week. We don't expect 95% of our employees to be remote on any given day, but it will definitely change how people work. We also think, like this, that it's going to certainly change how people are getting hired. If you're going to be a remote worker, interviewing over video actually makes a whole lot more sense. It was more convenient. It'll cut down on travel. And working this way, when we're talking to each other over the internet like this, it actually is a pretty good test of that to interview over video as well.
Makes sense. Finally, you mentioned that job postings are up now from where they were pre-pandemic. How many of those spots are getting filled? And I'm curious what the sort of top 3 skills are that employers are looking for right now.
Yeah, so many of the jobs are definitely getting filled. A lot of them are in the sectors that you would expect. So clearly, all of the areas that are supporting the stay-at-home economy, things like e-commerce, logistics, warehousing, delivery. We also are seeing a significant and sustained increase over last year, not surprisingly for healthcare. Most recently, the biggest jumps are coming in the areas of pharmacy, where there's people who are working to staff up to do all of this vaccine delivery. The areas that have been down, certainly hospitality and travel, those continue to be down. We expect those will pick up, hopefully, in the coming months.
Chris, thanks so much for being here. Chris Hyams is the CEO of Indeed. Be well, and thanks for being here.